Hey everybody, how's it going? Today we're going to be going over and showing you how to install the SumoSpringsSolo Custom Helper Springs here on our 2020 Thor Coleman. So these Sumo Springs are going to be designed for the front axle, but there are kits available for the rear as well. Now these Sumo Springs are a very popular upgrade here, a very popular option to upgrade your motorhome because they have a number of different benefits. Number one, with these big heavy motorhomes, these things are very boxy, they're not aerodynamic, therefore when we're out on the highway, we get these large gusts of winds, we're going to experience a lot of sway. Same thing goes if we make any evasive maneuvers. It really takes a lot of white knuckle gripping and driving to get a hold of your rig here. Therefore, by having the Sumo Springs there, it's going to sort of like a cushion between the frame and the control arm. Therefore, they're going to do a great job of minimizing that sway. Now, furthermore, because we're providing a cushion between the frame and control arm there, they're also going to do a great job of absorbing all those road shocks and bumpies you're going to experience when we're out on the highway or driving through town. So overall, it's going to help with our handling via reducing sway, and it's also going to help improve our ride quality. So something that SuperSprings does with their custom helper springs that I really like is that they have a progressive load rating. Now, on the contrary, if the springs were just the same density throughout, when we just went over those small pots, you know, those small potholes, just those tiny bumps, we're going to get a big shock there from our springs because everything is sort of the same hardness, if you will. But the progressive load rating, it really allows you to ease into that spring, so you really don't need the full capacity of it until you're compressed a few inches. Therefore, again, it's just going to help us with that increased smooth ride. So these Sumo Springs here, they're a very durable option. They're something that you're going to install on your RV and never have to worry about again. There's no maintenance required for them whatsoever, and they are very durable. They can withstand temperatures down to 25 degrees below zero, as well as temperatures up to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. So no matter what climate you're in, these springs are going to be a perfect option, and they're going to hold up in due time. So in regards to the installation of these springs here, these are very, very simple. It's definitely something that you guys are going to want to do by yourselves at home. You certainly don't want to pay a shop to do this. It really only takes common hand tools. And overall, I would say the job's probably only going to take you about 30 minutes total, maybe to an hour, depending on your skill level. So definitely reasonable, something you guys can attempt by yourself at home. So the first step of our installation, we do actually have to raise the front of our spinner van here. Now we can do both sides at a time. We're actually just going to be working on one side at a time. So I have a jack over there on this side lifting it up from the frame, and then I have a jack stand supporting it. And again, we're only going to be working with one side at a time, so we're only going to be lifting one side at a time. So once we have our vehicle properly supported, we're going to be coming above the control arm and below the frame, looking for the Factory Jounce Bumper, and that's what it looks like there. It's that small little black nub. So this is what we need to remove because our Sumo Spring is going to be replacing this. So in order to do that, I recommend getting a deep well 1/2-inch socket, and if you have a ratcheting wrench with an adjustable head, that'll help as well because there's going to be a slot in the top of the frame over here that there's going to be a nut inside there that holds it to the frame with the stud on the Jounce bumper. So we're going to take our wrench there and just sort of position it up there into the frame. You're kind of just doing this blindly. Most of it is going to be by feel. So then once you have it broken free there, you can switch over to a right angle ratchet if you have one. That'll make it a little bit easier since we really can't get full revelations on there. And you can go ahead and just tighten it. Then, as you can see here, we got our Jounce bumper out of there, and there's the stud. Like I said, we can just go ahead and switch over to a ratcheting wrench if you have one, since we can't really get full revelations on there, but you can certainly get it out with hand tools as well. Now keep in mind, we still have a nut inside that channel of the frame there. That's a little bit hard to get to, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a magnet, we're going to stick it in that slot and hope to fish it out. Here you can see there, we have our nut on the end of our magnet. We'll take that off. Now we can install our new spring. So here's what our spring looks like. We're going to go ahead and shove that into position, and then once we get it in there, it should hold there for the most part. We're going to place a flat washer sort of through that opening in the frame and over the stud. And then in order to prevent losing our nut here every time we reached up in there, what we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of paper towel. We're going to stick our nut in through that paper towel into the socket. And if we hit it down a couple times, it's going to hold it in there. That way, when we turn the socket upside down to thread it on the stud, we don't have to worry about our nut falling out. So now that we have the Jount spring in position, we're going to carefully take our flat washer here, sort of push up on the spring, find it with one finger, and we should be able to line it up and place it on like so. So we got it on there. Now I'm going to still hold pressure on the bottom of the spring. Now we can take our socket here that we have our nut inside of, sort of doing most of this by feel again. We'll begin threading it on. And now that we have it started, we'll switch over to our ratchet here. We'll push up on the spring here and we'll begin tightening it down. Go ahead and give a little wiggle here on our spring to make sure it's nice and tight. And there we go. Now we'll just repeat that same thing on the other side. And that's going to do it today for our look and installation of the SumoSprings Solo Custom Helper Springs here on our 2020 Thor Coleman.